Ray, do you want to explain what we're doing?
Right.
I'm passing you the mantle.
Good morning, friends. I feel this today a bit like the old BBC announcer who says that due to circumstances, the programme which we were going to show, we will not be showing today. Instead, we have a hopefully delightful time where we will be presenting you with a number of poems. So I would suggest sit back and enjoy the next hour. Patsy.
Well, I think David also. David, did you want us to discuss our more practical items at the beginning or the end?
I'm totally open. Let's see if we reach a natural break. But the idea would be to discuss a little bit where we're at with the discussion group, and I wanted to sound you out on what I'm thinking of doing next week. We did this once with Hattie. She jumped in a week before she was expected because somebody was missing, and managed to do a very useful preamble for the talk that followed the week after.
Right. Well, perhaps you could interrupt us if we're getting carried away with poetical enthusiasm.
Let's see where we get to. If there's a quiet point, let's see how much poetry we've got.
Okay. Who would like to start? Okay. Right, Ralph, off you go.
Right. Well, I've got a couple for you today. One which is a classic and a lovely poem of mine, and one by Roger McGuff, which people know from the more humorous side. But first of all, one of my really favourite poems, and it's William Blake, and it's The Tiger. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In what distant deeps or sky burns the fire of thine eyes? On what wings dared he aspire? What hand dare he seize the fire? And what shoulder and what art could twist the sinews of thy heart? And when thy heart begins to beat, what dreadful hand, what dreaded feet? What the hammer, what the chain, in what furnace was thy brain? What the anvil, what deep grasp dare its deadly terror grasp? When the stars threw down their spears, and the water thy heavens with these tears, did he smile his work to see? Did he who made the lamb make thee? Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night, what immortal hand or eye dare frame thy fearful symmetry? The vision of that is just, I'm always blown away, even though I've read it many times. Next one is a little bit simpler and a little bit silly. It's by Roger McGuff, and it's called Here I Am. Here I am, 47 years of age, I'd never have gone to work in ladies' underwear, never run naked at night in the rain, made love to a girl I've just met on a plane. At that awkward age now, between birth and death, I think of all the outrages unpenetrated opportunities missed. The dragons unchased, the maidens unkissed, the wine still untasted, the oceans uncrossed, the fantasies wasted, the mad urge is lost. Here I am, getting on for 70, and I've never stepped outside for a fight. Crossed on red, pissed on rose or white. Pretty dull for a poet, I suppose, huh? Quite. Isn't that lovely?
Oh, thank you.
I have more if need later, but I will suffice to continue with that at the moment.
Who'd like to go next?
Shall I go? It's my fault this happened.
I wasn't going to say that.
I've got my father's old poetry book, and it's from 1922. And it's a naughty girl has also scribbled in it. And that naughty girl wonders whether she ought to rub them all out somehow or other. But these are the poems I loved as a child. We all have things we loved as a child. My first one is J.K. Chesterton, The Rolling English Road. Before the Romans came from Rye or out of Severn Strode, a rolling drunkard Englishman made a rolling English road, a reeling road, a rolling road that rambles round the shire, and after him the parson ran, the sexton and the squire. A merry road, a mazy road, and such as we did tread the night we went to Birmingham by way of Beachy Head. I knew no harm of Bonaparte and plenty of the squire, and for to fight the Frenchmen I did not much desire. But I did bash their bagonets because they came arrayed to straighten out the crooked road an English drunkard made. When you and I went down the lane with ale mugs in our hands, the night we went to Glastonbury by way of Goodwin Sands. His sins, they were forgiven him, or why do flowers run behind him, and the hedges are all strengthened in the sun? The wild thing went from left to right and knew not what was which, but the wild rose was above him when they found him in a ditch. God pardon us, no hardness, we did not see so clear the night we went to Bannockburn by way of Brighton Pier. My friends, we will not go again to ape an ancient rage, or stretch the folly of our youth to be the shame of age, but walk with clearer eyes and ears that path that wandereth, and see undug in evening light the decent inn of death. But there is good news yet to hear, and things to be seen, before we go to paradise by way of Kensal Green.
That's great, isn't it?
I always loved that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Looking through this book, I understand why I had empathy with gypsies and homeless. There's loads of poems on that, but another one I liked, and I used to read it on hot days. It's Wilfred Wilson Gibson, The Ice Cart. I don't know whether any of you know that one.
No.
Perched on my city office stall, I watched with envy while a cool and lucky carter handled ice. And I was wandering in a trice, far from the grey and grimy heat of that intolerable street, or Sapphireburg and Emerald flow beneath the still and cold ruby glow of everlasting polar night, bewildered by the queer half-light, until I stumbled unawares upon a crack where big white bears plunged headlong down with flourished heels and floundered after shiny seals. through shivering seas of blinding blue. And as I watched them, as ere I knew, I'd stripped and I was swimming too. Among the seal pack, young and hale, and thrusting on with threshing tail, with twist and twirl and sudden leap, through crackling ice and salty deep, diving and doubling with my kind, until at last we left behind this big white blundering bulk of death, and lay on at length with panting breath upon a far untravelled flow beneath the gentle drift of snow, snow drifting fine and white. I thought I had a bit more. Oh yes, it is, sorry. Out of the endless polar night, falling and falling evermore upon that far untravelled shore, till I was buried fathoms deep beneath that cold, white, drifting sleep, sleep drifting deep, deep drifting sleep. The carter cracked a sudden whip. I clutched my stall with startling grip, awakened to the grimy heat of that intolerable street.
Mm.
Mm.
Oh, I haven't met that one before.
Lovely. I think it's what we all go off in a daydream while we're halfway through working and come back again.
Yes.
There you are. I have got hundreds. I wrote poetry myself. I've got some.
Mm.
So
I was thinking I'd ask the people who knew in advance this was going to happen to come up with a couple each, and then see if anyone else wanted to join with something that they could come up with quite quickly. If not, I'll go round with those who knew what was happening again. Does that sound all right? No loud protests anyway. Christopher, in that case, I think you're called upon to speak.
Let's do. You want another one?
I know. No, oh dear, I'm not very clear. I'm waiting for Christopher.
Christopher, you're going to give us something.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't think I spoke loudly enough. Sorry.
No, I was drifting off, and I'm not intending to share. I'm listening today, so.
You don't want to. You haven't got anything of your own you want to share.
No.
No. Okay. Okay. Oh, Graham, you've got a hand up.
You caught me before I actually put my hand up, but I have identified a poem which I like and can tell you a bit about it. It was a Swarthmore lecture that introduced me to it, given by Professor Lawrence Lerner, Professor of English Literature. I think at University of Sussex. He lived in Brighton, and I met him after the lecture and actually stayed with him. And his Swarthmore lecture was based on a number of poems, of which this is one, if I can find it. Yes, it's called Hawk Roosting, and it's by Ted Hughes. And Ted Hughes thought of it simply as a picture of one aspect of the world of nature, including, of course, the violence of animal against animal. But it was criticized to some extent for extolling violence. Well, I think more relevant is the mental attitude of the hawk perched at the top of a tree, and using that as a metaphor for what is happening in about half a dozen different countries at the present time of a government becoming totally corrupt and dominated by, as it sees the need to eliminate its enemies and remain in power. It's really about power, I think, rather than violence. And although it's simply a poem about a bird, I think it does have, it gives us a picture of one of the weaknesses of human beings when they get to positions of power, to want to dominate and to maintain that position. There's some lovely images within the poem. In a way, it links with Ray's choice of Tiger by William Blake. And it copies the practice of fighter aircraft during the Second World War of attacking the enemy with the sun behind so that they can't be seen until it's too late. It's called Hawk Roosting. I sit in the top of the wood, my eyes closed, in action, no falsifying dream. Between my hooked head and hooked feet, or in sleep rehearse perfect kills and eat. The convenience of the high trees, the air's buoyancy and the sun's ray are of advantage to me, and the earth's face upward for my inspection. My feet are locked upon the rough bark. It took the whole of creation to produce my foot, my each feather. Now I hold creation in my foot, or fly up and revolve it all slowly. I kill where I please, because it is all mine. There is no sophistry in my body. My manners are tearing off heads, the allotment of death. For the one path of my flight is direct through the bones of the living. No arguments assert my right. The sun is behind me. Nothing has changed since I began. My eye has permitted no change. I am going to keep things like this.
Very, very thought-provoking, isn't it? Mm. Hattie, I'm sorry you'll be wondering what's going on, but our speaker couldn't join us after all, and so we're coming up with poetry that we've enjoyed.
And I've got myself a pile of poetry books, which is a treat.
That's good.
That was lovely and quite double-edged towards the end.
Mm.
Wow. Who wrote it?
Can I ask how many people already knew that poem?
I didn't.
No, well, that's interesting.
No. Who was the poet, Graham?
Ted Hughes.
Ted.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who'd like to go next?
Are you going to delight us with something, Patsy?
I've got a couple I could read. I'm a bit nervous about how the sound is going. Can you all hear me quite normally at the moment? Okay,
Yes.
let's hope so.
Patsy, yeah.
Yeah.
And the great thing is I can lip read you as well. Graham was bobbing up and down, so half lip read and half not. It does help, thank you.
I don't know how well you'll be able to, because I don't know it by heart, so I am just reading it. You probably all know it. A. Houseman, Breedon Hill. In summertime on Breedon, the bells, they sound so clear. Round both the shires they ring them, in steeples far and near, a happy noise to hear. Here of a Sunday morning, my love and I would lie and see the coloured counties and hear the larks so high above us in the sky. The bells would ring to call her in valleys miles away. Come all to church, good people, come and pray. But here my love would stay, and I would turn and answer among the springing time, oh, peal upon our wedding, and we will hear the chime, and come to church in time. But when the snows at Christmas on Breedon top were strewn, my love rose up so early and stole out unbeknown and went to church alone. They tolled the one bell only, groom there was none to see. The mourners followed after, and so to church went she, and would not wait for me. The bells they sound on Breedon, and still the steeples hum. Come all to church, good people, oh, noisy bells be dumb. I hear you, I will come. It's one I'm quite fond of, and I like this as well. It's if you know these poems, that they all are related in some way. So I could actually just dive around regardless, but I happened to find this one just after, and I really liked it. The street sounds to the soldier's tread, and out we troop to see. A single redcoat turns his head. He turns and looks at me. My man, from sky to sky so far, we never crossed before. Such leagues apart the world's ends are, we're like to meet no more. What thoughts at heart have you and I? We cannot stop to tell. But dead or living, drunk or dry, soldier, I wish you well. That's yeah, I just thought it was sad, but it makes you think, or it made me think, kind of in all directions, if you know what I mean. Should we go on to it? That was from my houseman, but I've also got some John Donnes I'm very fond of. So if we're doing a second round, I'll come in with John Donne next time. I discovered John Donne when I first went to university, and yeah, at first I didn't like him at all, and then I did. So that's another story. Yes.
You're indicating, Christopher.
Yes, having seen how disappointed you all were, I found one of my favorite poems on the internet, so I'll read that out to you.
Thank you.
It's by W.H. Auden, and it's called Roman War Blues. Over the heather, the wet wind blows. I have lice in my tunic and a cold in my nose. The rain comes pattering out of the sky. I'm a war soldier, I don't know why. The mist creeps over the hard grey stone. My girl's in Tungria, I sleep alone. Orris goes hanging around her place. I don't like his manners, I don't like his face. Piso's a Christian, he worships a fish. There'd be no kissing if he had his wish. She gave me a ring, but I diced it away. I want my girl and I want my pay. When I'm a veteran and with only one eye, I shall do nothing but look at the sky.
Thank you, Chris. Well spotted. Is anyone else going to come in? Anyone who hasn't given us one yet? I think we're back to you then, I reckon, Ray.
Back to me.
I think so.
Righto.
If that's
I
all right.
shall read a couple of very small ones by one of my favourite amusing poets called Wendy Cope, who I just find very silly and quite lovely. So the first one is Loss. The day he moved out, it was terrible. That evening, Shu went through hell. His absence wasn't the problem, but the corkscrew had gone as well. Very, 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 very silly, but amusing. And the other one is a Christmas poem. And Wendy Cope thinks of Christmas just like I do. A Christmas poem. At Christmas, little children sing and merry bells jingle. The cold wind air makes their hands and face tingle. And happy families go to church and cheerily they mingle. And the whole business is unbelievably dreadful if you're single. I just like those. They're kind of precise and with a nice little bit at the end. But there you go.
Thank you.
I think then it is between Patsy, Jenny, and I, unless anybody else has got anything. Okay. Patty.
Well, I always liked the Liverpool poets, and I've got this book by Adrian Henry, Penny Arcade, and almost any of his poems will do, but there's another short one which is very apposite to this time of year. A Wee Scottish Song for Paul McCartney. Listen, hen, there's nae folk in the glen, nae monsters in the loch. Oh, but it's dull in the mull of Kintyre.
Aye. I think it's time for your done, Patsy.
I'm just looking for it. I'm sorry about that.
Can I give you one of the illustrated Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats? You know,
that would be great.
They're so fun, really, aren't they?
Yes.
I don't really mind anyway, but the ones towards the end, obviously. Oh, everybody knows McCavity, the mystery cat.
Yes.
McCavity's a mystery cat. He's called the Hidden Paw, for he's the master criminal who can defy the law. He's the bafflement of Scotland Yard, the flying squad's despair. For when they reach the scene of crime, McCavity's not there. McCafferty, there's no one like McCafferty. He's broken every human law. He breaks the law of gravity. His powers of levitation would make a fakir stare. And when you reach the scene of crime, McCafferty's not there. You may seek him in the basement. You may look up in the air. But I tell you once and once again, McCafferty's not there. McCafferty's a ginger cat. He's very tall and thin. You would know him if you saw him, for his eyes are sunken in. His brow is deeply lined with thought. His head is highly domed. His coat is dusty from neglect. His whiskers are uncombed. He sways his head from side to side with movements like a snake. And when you think he's half asleep, he's always wide awake. McCafferty, there's no one like McCafferty, for he's a fiend in feline shape, a monster of depravity. You may meet him in a by-street, you may see him in the square, but when a crime's discovered, then McCavity's not there. He's outwardly respectable. They say he cheats at cards, and his footprints are not found in any file of Scotland Yard's. And when the larder's looted, or the jewel case is rifled, or when the milk is missing, or another peak's been stifled, or the greenhouse glass is broken and the trellis past repair, aye, there's the wonder of the thing. McCavity's not there. And when the Foreign Office find a treaty's gone astray, or the Admiralty lose some plans and drawings, by the way, there may be a scrap of paper in the hall or on the stair, but it's useless to investigate. McCavity's not there. And when the loss has been disclosed, the Secret Service say, it must have been McCavity. But he's a mile away. You'll be sure to find him resting and licking of his thumbs or engaged in doing complicated long division sums. McCavity, McCavity. There's no one like McCavity. There never was a cat of such deceitfulness and suavity. He always has an alibi, or one or two to spare. At whatever time the deed took place, McCavity wasn't there. And they say that all the cats whose wicked deeds are widely known, I might mention Mungo Jerry, I might mention Griddlebone, are nothing more than agents for the cat who all the time just controls their operations. The Napoleon of crime.
I've always loved that.
It's brilliant, yeah. I haven't heard it for a long time. It's very good. Yeah.
Oh, I love this. The rum-tum tugger is a curious cat.
Jenny, should we would you like to do another one?
Well, I wondered if we're on animals, shall we have the donkey? When fishes flew and forests walk and figs grew up on thorn, some moment when the moon was born, then surely I was born. With monstrous head and sickening cry and ears like errant wings, the devil walks Baharity on all four-footed things. The tattered outlaw of the earth, of ancient crooked will, starved, scourged, deride am I am dumb, I keep my secret still. Fools, for I also have my hour, one far fierce hour and sweet. There was a shout about my ears and palms beneath my feet.
Beautiful. Who's next? I'm looking around, hopefully. David?
David.
Oh, David, you're muted.
I said quite a bit just then, and you didn't hear it. I'm, I'm very fond of Wordsworth's lines composed above Tintern Abbey, which is quite a long poem. So I'm just going to take a little bit from it about and find it. I've been looking. I'll start it here. These beauteous forms, through a long absence, have not been to me, as is a landscape to a blind man's eye. But oft, in lonely rooms and mid the din of towns and cities, I have owed to them, in hours of weariness, sensations sweet, felt in the blood and felt along the heart, and passing even into my purer mind with tranquil restoration. Feelings too of unremembered pleasure, such perhaps as have no slight or trivial influence, on that best portion of a good man's life. His little, nameless, unremembered acts of kindness and of love. Nor less, I trust, to them I may have owed another gift of aspect more sublime, that blessed mood in which the burthen of the mystery, in which the heavy and the weary weight of all this unintelligible world is lightened. That serene and blessed mood in which the affections gently lead us on until the breath of this corporeal frame and even the motion of our human blood almost suspended, we are laid asleep in body and become a living soul, while, with an eye made quiet by the power of harmony and the deep power of joy, we see into the life of things.
Mm. Yes. Another one that you realise you haven't heard for a long time. It'd be nice to go
Yes.
back to. I think I'm going to be doing a lot of poetry reading over the weekend and catching up.
And
I also think it will bring back words and old phrases that hadn't happened before if the younger people start to listen to this and perhaps make their own. And certainly some of us want a dictionary on all these new words that are running around our society nowadays. I want to say, what you've just said, what does that mean? Let's hand them some of our words back.
Yes. Quite alarming, really. Well, this is a poem that I like a lot. It is John Donne, and it's a hymn to God the Father. Wilt thou forgive that sin where I begun, which is my sin, though it were done before? Wilt thou forgive that sin through which I run, and do run still, though still I do deplore? When thou hast done, thou hast not done, for I have more. Wilt thou forgive that sin by which I have won others to sin, and made my sin their door? Wilt thou forgive that sin which I did shun a year or two, but wallowed in a score? When thou hast done, thou hast not done, for I have more. I have a sin of fear, that when I have spun my last thread, I shall perish on the shore. Swear by thyself that at my death thy sun shall shine as he shines now and heretofore. And having done that, thou hast done, I fear no more. It's I'm told that he wrote that when he was envisioning his death being very close. So I don't know if that's true. I'm sure that's. I'm sorry if I've made everyone feel a bit down key now. So do you have any of your amusing ones, Ray, to lighten the mood after that?
I shall go back onto Miss Cope, who is always seems to make me laugh. So a couple then of Miss Cope and her musings. This one is called Bloody Men. Bloody men are like bloody buses. You wait for a year, and as soon as one approaches your stop, 2 or 3 others appear. You look at them, flashing their indicators, offering you a ride. You try to read their destinations. You haven't much time to decide. If you make a mistake, there's no turning back. Jump off, and you'll stand there and gaze while the cars and the taxis and the lorries go by, and minutes and hours and days. But that does make me laugh, you know. That
Who was that again?
Wendy Cope.
Right, thank you.
Ray,
She's my go-to gal for making me laugh.
Thank you.
Ray,
Yes.
I'm very sorry, but being hard of hearing, I lost the last line and you were laughing. So could you read the last 2 lines or something, please?
I should read the last verse. If you make a mistake, there's no turning back. Jump off and you stand there and gaze while the cars and the taxis and the lorries go by, and the minutes and the hours and the days.
Oh,
Waiting for a bus.
Good.
Another unfortunate choice.
I was
I think
expecting there to be another word, sorry, and the other word would be goodbye, because it rhymes further up the verse.
Another unfortunate choice.
We've had cats. Would you like a dog?
Oh, hang on, Jenny. I don't think our sound is work. We're not syncing. Is that the word?
Can you hear me?
Well, I can hear you, but you can't hear Ray, who had just started.
Oh.
I don't know how it happens. David, you're our expert on these miracles.
Sorry, I was just looking at, I'm gazing in wonder at some of my own verse, and I missed what was said. Ask the question.
No, I was just puzzling over the fact, but we're having a problem whereby once or twice Jenny hasn't heard when someone else has been speaking. I think it's just
Oh gosh, well, yes, Jenny, we can see Jenny in a fairer hue now. Jenny has traditionally got computer problems, which her son comes and magics away, and then they reappear when he's gone. So I don't know what to say. If Jenny doesn't hear things that we do, I suggest Jenny should come and be with us in person on our computers and not hers.
A long way in. It's 5 miles into the city. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, Ray was just introducing a poem, Jenny. So if we go straight from Ray to you after that, is that all right? Sorry. Okay. Go on, Ray.
This is one which is sang more or less. So I'm going to put upon you my singing voice.
Right.
And it's called The Green Song. 1 green bottle dropping in the bank, 10 green bottles, what a lot we drank. Heaps of bottles and yesterday's a blank, but we saved the planet, tinkle, tinkle, clank. We got the bottles, nice percussive trash, bags of bottles, cleaning us out of cash. Empty bottles, we love to hear them splash, and we're saving the planet, tinkle, tinkle, clash. I recommend Jenny Cope to anybody.
Yes. I think I'll be looking out for one of hers. And Jenny, are you back with us?
Right. I have got a very, very old computer. My son is saying when the next Windows changes, which is about to come, then he will get me a brand new computer and we'll try and solve it, because I get moments when nothing happens. Right. This is called Lone Dog. I'm a lean dog, a keen dog, a wild dog and lone. I'm a rough dog, a tough dog, hunting on my own. I'm a bad dog, a mad dog, teasing silly sheep. I love to sit and bathe the moon and keep fat souls from sleep. I've never been a lap dog, licking dirty feet, a sleek dog, a meek dog, cringing for my meat. Not for me the fireside, the well-filled plate, but shut door, sharp stone, cuff and kick and hate. Not for me the other dogs running by my side. Some have run a short while, but none of them would bide. Oh, mine is still the lone trail, the hard trail, the best. Wide wind and wild stars and the hunger of the quest.
Oh, I don't think I haven't got the title of that one, Jenny.
But Lone Dog.
Lone Dog.
Ooh.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's by Irene MacLeod. It's macavity in a dog.
Oh, we've got a bit more time. Anybody, any more?
Yeah. I like John Clare. Sorry, the sun gets in my eyes. I like John Clare, so I've just chosen one called Winter, which is very appropriate to now. Herpling means limping. Okay. Winter, John Clare. Old January, clad in crispy rime, comes herpling on and often makes a stand. The hasty snowstorm near disturbs his time. He mends no pace, but beats his dithering hand, and February, like a timid maid, smiling and sorrowing, follows in his train. Huddled in cloak of miry roads, afraid, she hastens on to greet her home again. Then March, the prophetess, by storms inspired, gazes in rapture on the troubled sky, and then, in headlong fury, madly fired, she bids the hailstorm boil and hurry by. Yet 'neath the blackest cloud, a sunbeam flings its cheering promise of returning spring.
Lovely, isn't it? Oh,
So clever.
thank you. Ray, you look as if you're about to produce something. No.
I was thinking, how long, David? How long do we want to how long time do we want to discuss the next bit?
It's. I think this is going very sweetly. Let's just carry on like this.
I mean, one of the things, I'll just push this in here. I've realized, looking at the list of participants, which I can see, I don't know if everyone else can, that I've just scribbled all your Christian names down. Are we still using that anyway? I was anxious that I couldn't get hold of everyone before this meeting to warn you that the title was not the one you were expecting. Because we've never formed into a formal group. We're just anyone of the friends who'd like to come. And the downside of that is that then when you need to communicate something urgently, you have the choice of just contacting the people whose names quickly come to mind, or sending around a much bigger communication around all the groups of friends in Bristol, which is a bit intrusive maybe for some people. I just don't quite know, but it did occur to me today that I've already got the names of the people who are here today. I could just if we have another such a if it happens again when the speaker isn't available, I could just send out to everybody who's here today, and you could just pass the message on. Perhaps that would be the most Any thoughts on that? Are you all happy with that? Or Hattie, have you got a?
I mean, the interesting thing is, if you sent an email to loads of people saying, sorry folks, this is cancelled, so we'll do this instead, it reminds them that we exist. And they might care to join us for this poetry.
I could do that. It depends on whether the different. I've never looked that closely at all. There are a lot of email addresses, obviously, across the whole of Bristol. And I don't think I've got. Christopher, do you possess something like a compendious list of all the emails of friends, or would I have to send to all the clerks?
Yes.
I send to the clerks.
Yes, send to the clerks and they can send it round.
Oh, that's not so bad. I could do that.
But I think, I think also include the, the people who are here today.
Okay.
Or possibly do two, one to the clerks saying, please let friends know, and then one to your favourite people. So I assume I'll be off the list, but never mind.
Or to our speakers, I guess. Perhaps that'll be. I don't know. Okay. All right. Thank you. No, I did want to sort of consult. Well, sorry.
I was just going to suggest, just as a general blanket comment, that when you send out, say, the February list of speakers, that you just put a note in saying, and in the event of a speaker not showing up, we will offer an alternative activity or program, so that people know that these things can happen. The other suggestion was going to be to set up a WhatsApp group, just simply for communication, starting with this group who are here, and then as other people come along, they can be asked if they want to join. That's
really, yeah.
It's not necessarily something that everybody's keen on.
Yeah. David.
Yeah, another thing that can work for groups is a Google email list. So it's just an email address that the group has, and then you can, if you write to that address, which might be Friday discussion at Google Groups or something like that, the email goes to everybody who's a member of that, and people can subscribe and unsubscribe. And you only have to remember, it's similar to WhatsApp, but not everybody uses WhatsApp.
But everybody uses email, so perhaps
email address list can be useful. There's a little bit of sort of housework involved in setting one up, but once it's set up, it's very easy for the members to use. We have one for an environmental group that I'm involved with, and it gives a chance for some back chat to go on that's off the formal agenda of the meeting as well. And I'm interested in and value that what we're doing here is giving people a chance to get together outside the context of a meeting and to learn more about each other that we would never know just seeing people on a Sunday or whatever.
Yes, it feels, it's certainly something I look forward to, even when I'm panicking and thinking, oh gosh, something's gone wrong there, but I still do look forward to it. So I hope that others do as well. That's quite valuable. So does that mean that everybody who's here today, you're all happy enough if I sort of stick you together in a Google group once I've worked out how to do it? Is that all right? Is there a downside to that, perhaps, that I haven't thought of? Yes, I can see there's some downsides. Sheena? Sheena? Were you indicating you were worried about that?
No, so sorry. No.
That's all right. Okay. Does anybody want to say anything about that idea, or as far as you're all concerned, are you quite happy?
I think most people were waving to say they agreed.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. We've got 5 minutes left. So unless David has got some. Mary, did you want to say something?
Oh, yes, that's meant to indicate I agree.
Okay.
It's meant to be a thumbs up, isn't it? But it isn't.
If friends would agree, I have a last poem,
That's good.
which is something I loved when I first read it, and have read it a lot ever since then. And it's Thomas Hardy. And Thomas Hardy didn't write too many poems, but the poem which he's known for, I would say, one of the poems she's known for, which I just think is lovely, and it's called The Darkling Thrush.
Mm.
I leant upon the copper's gate where frost is speckled grey. The winter's dregs made desolate the weaking eye of day. The tangling vine streams score the sky like string unbroken lyres, and all mankind that haughteth nigh had sought their household fires. The land's sharp features seem to be the century's corpse outled, his crypt the cloudy canopy, the wind his death lament. The ancient pulse of German birth was shrunken, hard and dry, and every spirit upon the earth seemed feverless as I. At once a voice aroused among the bleak twigs overhead, its full-hearted evensong of joy unlimited. An aged thrush, frail, gaunt and small, in blast's bereft plume, had chosen thus to fling his soul upon the glowing gloom. So little cause for caroling of such ecstatic sound was written on the terrestrial things afar or nigh around, that I could think they're trembling through his happy good night air, some blessed hope whereof he knew, and I was unaware.
Mm.
Isn't that just wow?
Beautiful. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Ray. Thank you. Yeah. I knew he'd written some poetry, but you know, of course, it's his novels that we usually think of. Beautiful.
David, did you want to say think about the ones you got? I was Percy said something about you wanted to talk about the stuff that is recorded or something along those lines.
Yeah, it was wasn't a very tied down thought. I was just thinking about how we get to know each other. Funny enough, let me read you 3 or 4 verses from a poem which relates to what I've been doing. I just realized I spent the last year. So on this day, a year ago, I came out of BRI. I'd been there for about 8 or 10 days with some kind of problem with my lung, and I was wondering how I was going to get fit. And I ended up having this wonderful year serving a kind of apprenticeship with Charles, working on his house. And while I was looking at this meeting coming up, I sort of discovered a folder that I got of poems that I wrote a long time ago. And it just don't come out now. They used to sort of pop into my head. And I found I'd written about working on a house. And this one's called Another Birthday Poem for Alex, who's a little friend of a friend. Well, I'm working on this kitchen, which and somebody once said, there's a fine line between poetry and verse, and what you write doesn't come anywhere near it. So this just about rhymes, but it probably isn't a poem. When I'm working on this kitchen, which I'm doing for my friend, it's a bitchin' little kitchen, but there seems to be no end. We started out a month ago, and for the first whole week of that there flipping kitchen, we hardly saw a peak. At first we went out shopping, and then when we got back, we started knocking walls down. I quickly got the knack. At last we're in the kitchen, tucking lots of things away, like wires and pipes and sockets that were getting in the way. Then we started moving units, putting worktops on with tile, and it looks more like a kitchen. And now I start to smile. And all along we're grooving through the work, though the work doesn't seem to stop, because he's got some real great music, so we're reeling with the rock. But if you ain't got a kitchen, you sure still got to eat. So every day it's takeaway, and that is quite a treat. And today we finished tiling and then painting, won't be tardy, because his birthday is on Saturday and he wants to have a party. That's the client. But I woke up here this morning, on my mind a sudden thought, tomorrow's Alex's birthday. There's a present to be bought. But I had to go to work then, no time for me to shop. But while I was sticking tiles on, I thought these verses up. The funny thing is, when I start, I don't know what I'll say, or even when I'm going, where I'm going. I just get carried away. So this year it's about my work and what I got to do. Next year could be anything. We'll just have to wait and see. But where is Alex's Prezi? Oh, heck, I just don't know. But once the job is over, to the shops I'm bound to go. And there I will find something of that, you can be sure. And I'll get it to you somehow, even if it's door to door. But right now I got to go back, put more tiles upon the floor. So just wish you happy birthday and many, many happy more. And lots of love and kisses to you through the week, and hopes of joy and happiness and all the good we seek. That's it, enough. I hear John say, come back and do not shirk. So I'll pop this in the post now and get on with the work. So that's a little glimpse of me as I once was a poet. That's why it never got published as a book.
Perhaps what we need is a sort of notice board where we could self-publish our bits and pieces. We could always do it anonymously if we wanted.
A mystic who I visit said the task we have for the next 10 years is to build real communities. And I think, you know, we are quite isolated in our cities, looking for ways to come closer to, you know, the chance to love and to be loved, to share our deeper feelings, and poetry cuts through to that in some way. So I think at the very least we should carry on with this exploration. I can't believe that nobody's read Philip Larkin's This Be the Verse yet, which everybody must know, surely. Yeah. Hands up, everybody who doesn't know Philip Larkin's This Be the Verse. Oh, well, I'll read it. It's not totally Quakerly due to the second word.
What is the title, please, David? Slowly.
The title is This Be the Verse.
Be the Verse.
And it's Philip Larkin, who is Poet Laureate. They fuck you up, your mum and dad. They may not mean to, but they do. They fill you with the faults they had and add some extra just for you. But they were fucked up in their turn by fools in old style hats and coats, who half the time were soppy stern and half at one another's throats. Man hands on misery to man. It deepens like a coastal shelf. Get out as early as you can and don't have any kids yourself. And that's the one that everybody remembers, which is why it's called This Be the Verse.
Thank you.
Jenny.
Well, I've got one that I wrote about the press in 1975. And when Barry Taylor, the press officer for the City Council, was leaving, I gave him a copy and said, edit it if you can. And he said, Jenny, I don't think you should ever show that to the press. It's sitting here. Do you want to hear it? And will I not be kicked out of Quakers because of it?
Jenny?
Yes?
Jenny, I can lip read you perfectly now. Can you read it with your face in that sort of position?
Right. I
Might
did
have to hold
pick
it
that
up.
Yes, I'll try.
You might have to hold it up so that I can.
Right. It's called Press. Bent burbled bric-a-brac of business on the booze, churning out a load of lies to public while they snooze. Ink-laden paragraphs, words a mile long. Who cares what it says or whether right is wrong? Each line kills another soul, ruins a good name, churns out the newsprint, a stupid, crazy game. Gone a good man, enter fool, cushioned by the press. Don't listen to that one, we think it needs a rest. Letter type dancing, cogwheels prancing, truth being beaten under rollers steaming speed, pulp mills pandering to fickle public taste. And if the people do not care, then make them care in haste. Clamping, clumping, another idea sold. The individual dare not refute the lies in type so bold. So hasten by your papers, let type your blanket minds till we are all stereotyped, squeezed between the lines. You can see why he didn't want me to give it to the press.
It would have been salutary. It should have been published.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, you've heard it for the first time. It's been on a bit of paper sitting here that I gave him, and he gave me back the paper so it couldn't go astray. And I was a cabinet member at the time.
Ah.
It is actually getting on for 12:10, Ray. So should we? Next week, all being well, David is going to be. Where's your title, David? Our future environment. Is that right? That's going to be David Saunders next week. Our future environment. So I've got that in, so that's all right.
Okay, friends.
Good.
Well, I think we've had a enjoyable time. And as that phrase goes, I know I have.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
Thank you, friends. And we will I will see some of you on Sunday and the rest of you, hopefully, next Friday. Bye for now.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you very much for hosting.
Thank you.